Hi, I'm Shelly Pereira, and when I'm not helping salespeople and business owners drive higher sales, I'm listening to the P.O.W.E.R podcast by EVB.
Being a woman in business can be demanding and draining, but that has never deterred a determined woman to go after her dreams. That's why you're in the right place. This is the Power Plug Podcast, brought to you by EVB, where we believe in the power of you. At EVB, we're proud to be the first community bank in Virginia to reach out to women in business with a customized program designed to meet your unique needs. In each episode, expect to hear engaging interviews filled with advice, insights, and recommendations to charge you up and build your business. Now, for your host, Mary Foley.
Welcome back to the EVB Power Plug Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Foley, and this is lucky episode 7. Of course, there are 6 other fabulous episodes that you also don't want to miss. You can find them on evbpower.com, and you can get all of them for free on your phone by subscribing to the EVB Power Plug podcast on iTunes if you have an iPhone, or Stitcher if you have an Android phone. You just go to evbpower.com, click on the icons to download either app to listen, and boom, you're done. I mean, it's easy, it's fun, you just got to do it. Hey, well, the holiday season is here, and in addition to parties, gift giving, and celebration, 'tis the season to be selling. There's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, and more. But no matter what the name, for some businesses, this is the time of year when a huge amount of sales happen. However, for many business owners and salespeople, finding new customers and nurturing those relationships happens all year long, which is why I'm excited that today we're talking with Shelly Pereira, president of Verance Consulting, a sales coaching and training company. During her 25-year sales career, Shelly has sold more than $35 million in the printing and graphics communications industry. She's held a variety of leadership positions in sales, business development, and marketing, and really attributes her success to selling solutions, understanding client needs, building long-term client relationships, and always doing what's in the client's best interest. Serving businesses in Richmond, Williamsburg, Norfolk, and Virginia Beach, Virginia, Shelly is passionate about helping sales reps and business owners improve their performance to reach their full potential and make a bigger impact. And she does this as a fractional sales manager, sales coach, and trainer. Shelly, welcome to the EVB Power Plug Podcast.
Thanks, Mary. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here too, and it is the season of selling. All seasons really are the season of selling, and I wanted to ask you, though, something about the selling process. You've been in sales for 25 years, and you say that the selling process has changed. What do you really mean by that?
You know, the internet really has changed the selling process. It really used to be that the salesperson had all of the information and all of the answers. And now the buyer can go and research anything, so they're actually pretty knowledgeable about the solutions available in the marketplace, how they compare with yours, and actually who has the best pricing. All that to say, you have to have a very different discussion today. Years ago, it was just about the sale and using tactics to move the buyer to take the action that you wanted them to take. And today, you really need to be prepared to have a very different conversation. You need to be a consultant, an advisor, and a problem solver. And you need to educate the buyer and provide solutions.
So it's a really different kind of thing, like you're saying. So instead of sales and tactics, it's a lot about what I'm hearing very clearly is consulting and solutions, right?
Exactly. I mean, you really have to understand their industry and their challenges. I think selling today is really all about asking really good questions. Help them look at problems in a very different way.
Well, yeah, that idea of coming up with the questions and such, is there a particular way that you go about even figuring out what questions to ask?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in pre-call research. I mean, really being able to look at who the prospect that you're going to see. So you need to research them, you need to research the company, you need to find out all you can about the industry. You know, when you show up for a meeting today, people actually expect for you to know a significant amount about who they are before you get there, so that when you do ask your questions, and all your questions really should be prepared in advance. But when you do ask your questions, I mean, you need to sound like you really know what they're talking about. You really You need to have an idea of what they may be challenged with before you even get there.
So what are some really savvy ways to find leads for new business?
Well, new business acquisition is certainly always on the mind of business owners. I think your lead generation strategy should really include several methods. Of course, one of my favorites, which a lot of people forget, is customer referrals. And unfortunately, so many people are reluctant to ask for them. But other lead generation tactics fall into the categories of online and offline. Some of the offline methods are going to networking events, trade shows, events, direct mail, public speaking. And then there are the online lead generation tactics, which include webinars, email marketing, social media advertising, such as LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, your search engine marketing, display advertising, which is also called banner ads. And some people actually refer to banner ads as that annoying pop-up that appears when you click on a website.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for many small businesses, they really need to use a combination. And I think the smaller the business, it probably usually falls into the category of networking, local events, email marketing, and some online ads.
So how do I figure out how much time I should spend looking for new leads online versus offline, or also called in person?
It really depends on several factors. You really should begin with reviewing your past activity. For example, what lead generation methods have you used in the past? How many leads did you get? How many customers came from some of those lead generation activities? And what did that lead actually cost you? I think networking should be one of your lead generation tactics, but not everything you do. Many entrepreneurs actually spend way too much time going to a variety of different networking meetings, but they're not always networking with the right people or getting enough qualified leads. And you really need to analyze the time that you spend versus your return on investment. So you may find looking for leads in person may not always be the best use of your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you do have a marketing budget, social media advertising and online ads are perfect for lead generation, especially for small businesses, and are generally pretty cost effective. So I do think the right mix of lead generation methods is important. Which ones are best is generally found. I always like to look backwards, looking at customer data and past sales activity to see which was most effective in terms of determining where I should go in the future.
Are there things you look for or that we should pay attention to in order to determine if someone's really a good qualified lead?
Well, it's interesting. I often hear entrepreneurs say that everyone is in their target market, and of course that is absolutely not true. Before we can really determine if we have a qualified lead, I think you first need to understand who your ideal client is. But I think there are three basic questions that you should answer in order to determine if a lead is actually qualified. Do they need your product or service? Do they actually have problems, challenges, and pain points that your solution answers? And can they afford you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those seem to be three big things that we got to figure out, because you could have the first two and then someone goes, well, no, I don't have the budget for that. No, I don't even intend to ever have a budget for that. And you've got to go, okay, not exactly, might be a lead, but not a strong one for sure, because they're not ever going to buy your stuff, right? Or your service.
Exactly. It's a lead for someone else, right?
That's another way of thinking about it. Yeah, you're right. And it seems a lot easier to have a selling kind of conversation in person with someone who's a lot like me, but not everybody's so fortunate, right? To be just like you, just like me. How can I effectively make a connection with someone who has a really different personality than myself, but also still stay authentic?
That is so funny, Mary, but it's actually so true. I actually work with a couple people who prefer to work with clients who are just like them, and we've had conversations about it, and they said, it's just so much easier. If you think about going to a cocktail party, for example, you find that it's so much easier to strike up a conversation with a few people, but then you go across the room and you try to have a conversation with others, and it's just a struggle. It's so much harder. It really is the same thing when it comes to sales. Last year, I actually became licensed and certified in a personality profiling system called BANK. And BANK is just an acronym that stands for Blueprint, Action, Nurturing, and Knowledge. And we're actually made up of all four of those, but we have one predominant personality type. And BANK was actually developed for the sole purpose of increasing sales and communication effectiveness. So, we're not suggesting that you change who you are or become someone that you're not. The BANK personality system really teaches you how to have an authentic discussion by identifying who your prospect is, what's important to them when making a buying decision, and then it actually allows you to tailor your presentation to fit who they are and what they need in order to make that buying decision. So, this really yields a much more effective conversation and actually increases sales results. And I found an interesting stat for you, too. According to Salesforce.com, 66% of customers feel turned off by the sales conversation. And that basically means that 2/3 of salespeople or people who are having a sales conversation are not effectively connecting with the prospect.
That's a lot.
They're not uncovering their needs. They're not providing value. They're really not touching on what's important to the prospect. And if you think about all that, it really is costing businesses a lot in what could be potential revenue.
Oh my gosh. All right. So listen, we are already feeling smarter, I think, Shelly, about selling by even some of the tips that you've given, which I know we could go deeper into every single one. But we have to take a quick break, and I got more questions for you on the other side. So hang on, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Julie Hill, the Director of P.O.W.E.R at EVB. Every day I sit down and talk with Virginia women in business. I feel their passion, I see their commitment, and I hear their challenges. Sometimes that includes finding a banking partner who will truly listen and help them grow. That's what our P.O.W.E.R program is all about. To find out more, go to evbpower.com or reach out to me at julie.hill@bankevb.com and let's sit down and talk about your business. At EVB, we truly believe in the power of you because when women in business succeed, we all do.
Welcome back. This is Mary Foley, and today Shelly Pereira, president of Verance Consulting, is giving us some great tips and strategy about what it takes to be effective at sales. Now, I've been meaning to ask you, Shelly, what does Verance mean and stand for?
The Latin translation for the V.E.R. part of Verance actually stands for true or genuine. And as we were talking before, Blueprint is my predominant personality type, so truth and trust are really important qualities to me, and certainly a big part of who I am. And then Verance is actually part of the word perseverance, and perseverance was such a huge part of my sales career. I think it was really the inner drive that helped me to go after prospects much longer. I had some that I went after for 2 years, and then really continue to follow up long after many others have quit. So, so many people follow up once or twice and then forget about it. And I would be somebody that would follow up 10 times if that's what it took to move somebody to a win, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, yeah, then that's a perfect word for you for Verance Consulting. And that whole point of perseverance, it makes me think, well, not everyone wants to and needs to buy right away. 2 years, obviously is a pretty long period of time, but sales cycles are what they are. So what are some smart ways to stay in touch that you used and that you recommend to clients?
Well, it generally takes about 7 to 12 touches on average to really move someone from a prospect to a customer. In my early days of sales, I created more of an offline nurture sequence with a series of touches like sending a note or a letter, multiple phone calls, maybe dropping off a sample, or sending an occasional email. But today I actually prefer to use a more automated system for inbound marketing and nurturing. I'm a certified Hatchbuck partner. Hatchbuck is a small business CRM, email marketing, and marketing automation solution. And it actually allows you to keep track of your leads and prospects, your opportunities, your customers. So you can manage your pipeline, like your outstanding quotes or proposals, the dollar value of what's actually in your sales pipeline. You can capture leads via an online form, and then that automatically populates the contact information in your CRM. And then you can actually trigger an automated drip marketing campaign. So, once you've captured a new lead, nurturing them with relevant content is key. I think a few ways to stay in touch are with a blog article, a helpful ebook, a white paper, or a case study. But you want to send the right information to the right person and then follow up with a phone call or an email to schedule an appointment when the time is right.
All right. So far we've kind of touched on what what sales looks like today, much more of a relationship, much more consulting. You were saying we've touched on the fact that how to get new leads, where to find them online and offline, really what's a qualified lead, how to have some of that sales conversation. And then in that sales conversation, so often as women, we tend to shy away from asking for the sale. We've done all this work to lead up to this point, and then we tend to hold back. So what are some practical tips about how we can get over ourselves and get on with closing the sale?
It's funny, Mary. It sounds like you actually know many of the people that I talk with.
I've never experienced this personally, but I'm just saying that's what I've heard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I find that most small business owners, they really don't come from a sales background. So they really don't know what that sales conversation should really sound like. So in a lot of cases, they make the same mistakes that new salespeople make, which is spending too much time talking about their product or service. And some salespeople and maybe small business owners might spend more time even talking about themselves. And when they walk away, one of the questions I always ask is, well, what did you learn about the prospect? If you don't learn anything about the prospect's needs, you're not going to move very far in this sales conversation. So I actually teach a simple 5-step process that helps people to have an effective sales conversation. And I think if you ask the right questions and find their real pain, and then show them that your product or service or solution really answers that pain, it really is a very natural next step to ask for the business. I think generally the reluctance to ask for the business really occurs because you didn't do a good job of uncovering those challenges. So now you get to the end of this meeting and you're supposed to really wrap it up and ask for the business, but that just feels so awkward. It almost feels like it comes out of left field for so many people. And I find with women and even men for that matter, that sometimes the reluctance does stem from who they are. It's interesting. There are really some personality types that are very uncomfortable for asking for what they need. So it really makes it very difficult in the sales process. So I really help them look for ways to make it easier based on who they are to ask for the business. But to give you, a few practical tips really to kind of have a better sales conversation, I think one thing is really to learn a simple selling system so you kind of know where you are in that sales process, making sure that you research the prospect and the company to adequately prepare for that appointment. Make sure that you create your questions in advance. Make sure you listen really well during the meeting. To me, if I'm listening really intently during the meeting, then that's where my next questions are coming from, and that's how we can get deeper into that sales conversation. But, at the end, you always need to ask for the business or, whatever that next step is in your sales process. In some selling cycles, for example, the next part of the sales process, it could be a second meeting or it could be a demo of your product, but making sure you ask for whatever that next step is. And then something I did my entire sales career is after every single meeting that I had, and I had many, was to ask myself, what did I do well? What do I think I should do different next time? I think if you learn from your mistakes and you practice, I really do think you'll get much better at it. I think that happens so many times where people take as almost a personal attack on themselves rather than, this particular person may not need my product or service at this moment in time, or they may not be able to financially afford hiring me at this point in time. But don't walk away thinking that everything or every no is a personal attack on you.
And that is the truth, but you're right. It's just getting the practice. I like to think, I didn't die, so hey, there, I'm still. Things can still go forward, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's not the end of the world. Would I like to have had a yes? Heck yeah, I wasn't there for nothing. But however, same time, it's obviously the idea of perseverance makes an important impact. Let me change the topic here, and because something about what you offer in your consulting really caught my eye, and that's this idea where you loan your talent as a fractional sales manager for businesses. Exactly what is that? And if I were a business owner, which I am, but as a business owner, how do I know if I need a fractional sales manager?
Well, a fractional sales manager is really just a fancy term for a part-time sales manager. It's really much cheaper for a small business owner to hire a part-time sales manager than it is to hire a full-time employee. So they might not be ready for the full-time employee, but they may be ready for somebody else to actually come in and take care of sales. So in a lot of small businesses, the owner generally is acting as the primary salesperson, and then as they grow, they start to hire a few salespeople. And then it gets to a point where, most business owners really don't have the time to effectively manage the sales staff. And what I find is they don't really have a consistent sales process. They may lack sales procedures. Their sales quotas aren't being met. A business owner really should consider hiring a fractional sales manager if they're having problems with sales growth, hiring or retaining salespeople, or if they're getting inconsistent sales results. A lot of times as a business owner who's managing a sales team, they may be getting inconsistent sales results, but they don't necessarily know what is causing the inconsistent sales results. So, and in most cases, the additional revenue that's generated from hiring a part-time sales manager would more than pay for them.
I love that idea, though, too, is that it is, and I could totally see that as a good problem to have by a business owner, because that means they've hired some decent salespeople, they're producing, and now that in of itself is becoming its own thing to manage, and they simply, can't, like you said, they just don't have time now to do quite that much. I cannot believe we are really out of time, Shelly. There's so much we could talk about when it comes to effective selling, but we are out of time, and so we need to wrap up. And I have 7 quick questions that I like to ask guests just to get to know you a little bit more. All right. So all you have to do, I'm going to ask them, say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Favorite holiday of the year?
Oh, that would have to be Christmas.
Ooh, okay. Well, hey, we're doing this in December. It's coming up. Where were you born?
Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford, Connecticut. Oh, really? Okay. And where have you lived the longest?
Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, okay. How long?
Gosh, so many different years in between, but I would have to say over half of my life.
All right. Heels or flats?
Flat.
All right. And the last one, name a woman who has deeply inspired you, past or present.
It would probably have to be my grandmother.
Okay. What was her name, and what was it about her that inspired you?
Her name was Olga, and I think she worked so hard. She was always willing to put herself before others. She was a very, very hard worker. I think she was almost a woman ahead of her time. She was always very fascinated with everything I did in the sales world, because I think that's really probably where she should have been when she was in her working world.
Wow. It sounds like you have a lot in common with her, working hard, keeping at it. And you're right. She probably vicariously lived through you in the selling process, huh?
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely share her work ethic.
Yeah. Well, and you said she was always doing things for other people. And through selling, it's not just about what you get, it's about how you can help with solutions, right? So it's just another way of helping people. It's a different way.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, for sharing your talents, your expertise, your tips, your strategies, all about selling. And thank you so much for being on the P.O.W.E.R podcast.
Thank you so much, Mary. I really enjoyed the conversation.
All of us have powerful women in our lives, just like the one on today's podcast. At EVB, we're bringing these amazing women together to be a part of something special. Our P.O.W.E.R program is unlike any other. We not only have banking and financial options, we also provide opportunities for you to promote your business and to make valuable connections. To find out more, please contact me, Julie Hill, the Director of P.O.W.E.R, at julie.hill@bankevb.com. I look forward to it.
Wow, that was fast. But we hope that you're feeling recharged and re-energized to continue to power up your business and go after your dreams. Love this Power Plug episode? Let us know. Leave a comment on Facebook or visit us at evbpower.com, where you can hear more episodes just like this one to keep believing in the power of you, just like we do.